Champions here. That's right.
3, 2, 1.
Let's go. God gave me a talent, so let me flaunt the gift.
Broadcasting live from the Property Cashflow Studios, this is the Property Cashflow Experience, the world's leading podcast on building cash flow in property, real estate, fast. Hosted by the Cashflow King and your favorite mentor, the possibility of living the life you desire starts here.
Damn.
Let's get ready to rumble!
All right, welcome back to episode 6 of the Property Cashflow Show. How you doing, Dwayne?
I'm doing well. Everyone listening, welcome. We're excited to continue from the last episode.
Yeah.
Do you want to give a quick overview of what we did?
Yeah, so last episode was the question. We had 2 people ask the question, what should I invest? They've got like 20,000, the other one had 30,000. What should I invest that money into? So we just covered what we would do. I thought it was pretty good advice, actually.
Yeah.
We really nailed it, I reckon. And now we've got another question. And this one's a big question. So this is, what do I invest £100,000 into?
Yeah.
So he wants to invest into property, right? What does he invest his 100,000 into? Because he's been given lots of different advice, conflicting advice. So I said we'll give our opinion on what we would invest this £100,000 into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good question because if you remember, we had a trader in London City who said, I've got £100,000 of savings. I'm looking in property. What do you advise? So I think there's quite a few people out there that have that question.
Yeah.
And I think this could be really helpful for them, actually.
He was a good guy, actually, wasn't he? Who called in.
Mm-hmm.
Just remind me, what did he say? Because you took the call. What did he say he'd been advised? Was it rent to rent or serviced accommodation? Or
Yeah, primarily rent to rent. So his background was he had done sales before, got into trading. He wanted to replace. So trading, as if you ever traded, it can have ups and downs. Ups and downs. It's like a boom bust cycle. So 1 week you can make a lot, next week you can lose it. But over the average of a term or a period, you come out on top if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So having the property gave him that really strong, consistent foundation of cash flow every month. So what was recommended to him?
Yeah.
Was rent to rent and lease options and rent to SA as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's said he's going to come in for a strategy session, didn't he, at some point?
Yeah.
So he wants to get our advice on how he's going to invest that 100,000, because some of the stuff you told me actually that he was been advised to do, it didn't sound to me like the best advice. It sounded more as though the people who were advising him were making a ton of money. They were sourcing, weren't they?
Yeah, so it was a mix. But yeah, I think there's a lot out there. There's a lot of information of how you can use your money, be it rent to rent or rent to SA. It's just a lot. So I think the strategy session was to really try and nail down his thoughts on and a plan over the next 6 months to 12 months of this is exactly what you do with 100,000.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's what I would say with that 100,000 straight away. All right. So I'm going to give my advice. So I'm not giving it from as me, like what I would do with my knowledge and experience. I'm going to give the advice as if I was this person, this trader, and I've got 100,000. I haven't got loads of experience in property investing. What I would do is a little bit different to what I'd normally advise. So normally I advise to get that money working for you in cash flow based strategies. For that amount, I would definitely use a chunk of it to buy a property. So I would actually buy. So this, again, I know this is different to what I normally say, but I would use some of that money to buy something. So I'd probably buy 2 apartments in a nice city centre location. So I'd probably spend 152. I'd probably buy some properties at 150 to 200,000 each. I'd buy them with a mortgage, so I'd be putting my 25% down. So I'd probably get 1 for definite, and then I would use the rest of that money for cash flow based strategies. I would be wanting to buy some lease options with that, so I'd find a really good sourcer, and I would buy some lease options. Definitely, I wouldn't mind spending even 10 grand on each lease option, and I'd want a 7-year term. Definitely want a 7-year term on each of them. So I'd start with that. So I'd probably put 50,000 of that into actually buying one apartment. And the reason for that is because if I am a stockbroker or trader or whatever, haven't got a lot of experience, and I'm not sure if my job's going to be stable. What if there's another crash? What if I lose my job like all those people did in 2008? Like, what do I need for security? Well, if I had an apartment that I'd bought and it was even, let's say 150, 200,000, so I'd put, even if it was 200,000, I'd put 50,000 in. Right, so I've still got my 50,000. That 50,000 that I've put in, that's secure, it's capital. I know it's not going away. Even if there is a recession, the price drops a little bit, it's not going to affect my full 50,000 because the bank is leverage, so 75% of its leverage. The bank's going to be affected as well. So I might lose whatever it is, 12.5 or whatever of that. I might drop a little bit of that 12.5 in. So that's the way I would look at it first and foremost. I'd get the security first.
Yeah.
But that apartment, I would do it as a serviced accommodation.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't rent it to tenants. Just because there's too many issues with renting to tenants now. It's just a pain in the ass, really. There's just too many rights. Right, seriously, the rights are insane. And I'm all for tenants' rights, regulations. So it's always conflicting. People like you are a walking confliction, right? Because I like regulations. I like legislation. I like the tenants having lots of rights. But at the same time, there's certain aspects within it which are crazy. It's madness. Like some of the eviction processes, where if you fill Section 21 form, if there's a letter wrong on it, the judge throws it out or something. It shouldn't be looked at like that. But there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of challenges, which is why so many landlords exited the market. Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of development around how we manage tenants and how to make it, because obviously the government's consulting around removing the ability of Section 21, which I've got two perspectives. I know up until maybe like 7 years ago. So I came out of university, lived in a HMO, lived in already poor HMO, where literally you go in the shower, there's slugs coming out.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, I'm only paying £250 a month. I'm only paying £250 a month. And then I went into a really great HMO where good management, whenever there's a maintenance issue, it was okay. There wasn't when it came to price increases, they discussed it with me.
Yeah,
it was really fair. I think it's really just trying to get rid of those rogue landlords. But the government has to be very conscious of how they go about it. Because it could put off some really good landlords out there that actually are for tenants. I think
it has.
Yeah,
I really do. Like, I'm not seeing a reduction in the slum landlords or the rogue landlords. I'm not. I'm seeing a reduction in the good quality landlords. Like, if you think across the portfolio, the landlords that we manage, the ones who have been not necessarily exiting, but they've been selling some of their properties that we don't even manage in other areas like Nottingham and all these sort of places.
Yeah,
they're the good landlords. And they're getting out because they're saying, "Oh, do you know what? This is just too difficult." But some of the bad landlords, they're going, "Oh well, let's just transfer it into my sister's name and this person's name," and like they're just transferring the properties around.
Yeah, and you can probably see why, isn't it? Because the good landlords out there, they're thinking, I see all these rules and I want to comply with it, but it costs too much to comply in many respects. Whilst the slum landlord, they're like, I'm not putting any rules in. It's about catch me if you can, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? So,
and if I get caught, I'll appeal and win. Like that case recently, breaching the HMO laws.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, I'm appealing it because it will cause financial hardship.
Or sell property and then buy another property where they haven't yet, where they can get around the rules. Just go to a different area, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of challenges. So that's why I would say I would buy that apartment. And here's two things. So I've got to add a safety caveat to this. So if you are going to buy an apartment to do serviced accommodation with, you've got to do the test which says, will this apartment rent to normal tenants if I can't do it as serviced accommodation? If the answer is no, and not just that, but also, again, another variable to it, will it stack up?
So how would they do that test? Because that's what probably someone's thinking at home.
Yeah. But let me just say, will it stack up as well?
Yeah.
So, for example, let's say, I'm going to make $3,000 a month from serviced accommodation, and my mortgage is, I don't even know what it'll be on that, but they're like, let's just say it was $750, right? It could be more, but let's just say 750. Oh, I'm going to make a couple £1,000 after bills and all that. So people are buying it based on, I'm going to make 2,000 a month.
I've seen that.
Yeah, it's madness. But then you got to look at, well, how much would it rent for? How much would it actually rent for? So let's say it was 1,000 a month to a tenant, right? And you've got a 750 mortgage and you've got all the other stuff. Will it work? It probably would. You probably only profit maybe £100 or something like that. So would I put in buy an apartment for 200,000 in order to make £100 profit a month? Never in a million years. Right? So you've got to make sure it stacks up. You've got to make sure the ROI is good. And you've got to get a good management company there. Unless you're going to manage it remotely, which is possible, but more difficult. So I think that is one of the, straight away, that's what I'd look at. Half the money into a serviced accommodation that I'd buy just for safety. And then the other 50,000, I would spread that across rent-to-rents, serviced accommodations, but mainly into lease options. I just want to get that cash flow going. I mean, 100,000, if I put that into purely cash flow, so I wasn't buying anything, I was just putting it into cash flow based strategies, I could turn 100,000 into 10,000 a month cash flow quite easily. We'll do a lot more. I'm just being conservative. So it's just, but again, it just comes down to level of knowledge. It's what is the knowledge that you currently have. If you haven't got a lot of knowledge and you're not willing to invest knowledge into these areas, then just play it safe. Buy something, do some very safe rent-to-rents or serviced accommodations, just a couple or a few of each. Keep it simple so you're not over-geared. But apart from that, I wouldn't be building like a massive portfolio with your 100K.
Yeah, agree.
So that's my opinion on it. What do you think? I
think I wouldn't go stray too far away from what you recommended, actually, Neil. I think, first of all, for me, if I've got 100,000, that I'm a new investor, there's, from the notes I've made, probably around 3 steps I would take. First of all, I would choose 1 to 2 or 3 areas that I'm interested in, and I'd already go deep there. And those would be my goldmine areas where I'm thinking next 3 to 10 years, I'm staying there, even longer than that. And then the second step I would take is, so rather than buying an apartment and turn it into an SA, which is really good cash flow strategy as well, I'd probably stick with a HMO. But the HMO, I would invest with making sure it's managed by a company that I know they're doing a great job, and it stacks up. Because with the HMO, I see it's got flexibility, and it wouldn't be a huge HMO. Maybe if you're spending 200,000, so in our area, a 3-bed terrace with a reception and a living room
with a conversion.
Change it into a smaller HMO. Might set you back around 200,000.
Yeah,
right?
I would agree with that.
So with deposit, stamp duty, etc., you're spending £60,000. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the. I mean, it's changed a little bit recently because prices have gone up for HMOs as more regulations have come in. Prices have gone up. So I used to work on a ratio of £30,000 per room.
Yeah.
In the Midlands, giving us, you know, with the margins for the Midlands, because people are going to be listening from all over the world to this. So we're talking about the Midlands in the UK. So I used to buy based on £30,000 a room. Now it's more like £40,000 a room.
Yeah.
So if I could spend, let's just say I got and again, let me clarify this. So that doesn't mean a 3-bedroom house. So 40, 80, 120,000 on a 3-bedroom house. That means a 3-bedroom house with 2 receptions.
Correct.
So one of those receptions could become a bedroom. In that case, that's 40, 80, 120, £160,000. That's what I would spend. And even today, that's what I would spend, because I know if I put 160,000 in and I have to do some basic work, maybe 10,000, so I might be into 170,000. My cash flow on that every month is going to be pretty nice.
It would be, exactly. So you could see the point why I would go with a HMO. So I've gone with a HMO, but the key thing here is because I'm a newbie, I'm choosing the right management company that have been around for years, that maybe they potentially give you a guaranteed rent, so you've got the security of having consistent income every month. You might not get as much margin if you try and manage yourself, but maybe I haven't got time, I haven't got the energy, I'm still new to it, and I don't want to be caught out as a landlord. So I choose a management company that really looks after me.
You know, let me just jump in on that, because
go ahead.
I agree, but there's also a variable. And that is, some of these management companies that have been around for a long time are not good. They're there simply through time.
Yeah.
They're not there through how good they are. It's just time and branding and marketing.
So I think we're on the same page here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's about a company that's been around, knows what they're doing. That's the really key point.
Or
knows what they're doing.
Or you get someone who's just set up their own. Right, so they've just set up their own company. They're fresh and hungry, and they're willing to please. Yeah, those sort of people as well are great because they probably just come from a big franchise, and they're like, right, my franchise doesn't do HMOs, but I've got loads of experience, and I've done this and I've done that. I'm going to go into HMO management because I know I can make good money and specialize.
I think we're on the same page here.
Yeah.
Page here. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it could be an agent who has gone from a previous letting agent and just wants to set up. They know they've got the experience, or it's an agent that's been around, does HMOs. There's a few agents out there that have done standard buy to lets, and now they're looking into doing HMOs, but it's a different skill set. It's a different way of advertising, different compliance. There's a lot more involved than previous. And as a result, they're getting unstuck. They're becoming unstuck. So going back to the point though, so choose a HMO within one of those gold mine areas that we've chosen in step 1. Then step 3, similar to you, I wouldn't do anything but lease options, because I'll be seeing it as, so I've spent £60,000 on this HMO. I've now got £40,000, and I'll be choosing just lease option deals that are either SA or rent to rent, or a HMO type property. Because ideally what you'll be looking for is that property with the income and profit you'll make, you could just, it will generate enough deposit to actually purchase that property.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think we're probably on the same mindset, really.
I think as well, like for me, because I didn't grow up wealthy, right? Actually, I grew up quite the opposite of that. My motivation is a little bit different. So I'm more motivated by security. I always want to make sure that me, my family, we're secure. So although these strategies, people might look at them and say, oh, these are high risk strategies to do cash flow based strategies, I don't see it like that. I see them as actually quite safe, right? I see these strategies as quite safe. But at the same time, buying like an apartment, I see that as really, really safe. As long as you've got the money, you're not borrowing too heavily, that is a safe bet. Because I would look at it as, if worse came to worse, I lost my job, there was a recession, there was this, there was that, and I was in big trouble, could I move into that apartment, and with the pay down that's been done on it already, could I live there on the money that it cost me monthly? So the mortgage, the gas, electric, water, broadband, all that sort of stuff. So I would look at it like that, because I am more risk averse than a lot of investors. So I always want to have my financial security blanket first, and then I'll build up with everything else. So I've got my security blanket, which is why I go so heavily into these 3 strategies.
I think just spending more time around that risk aversion and risk protection is, so when we look at choosing an apartment or HMO, so if we look at the example I've given, choose a HMO, don't go for the most complicated renovation, because if you're new to it, first of all, you can get some rogue builders that charge you an arm and a leg. And then what could happen is, if it's a complex renovation, something pops up, cost overrun, and it goes from a renovation that could have cost you 25,000 to something that's 40,000. That 100,000 now has absolutely been demolished, hasn't it?
And actually that happened with my very first property. So I thought it was going to be about £5,000 on the renovation. You know how much it was in the end?
Share it with us.
It's 15,000.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's 3 times. Because what happened was, I didn't pay for a full structural survey. I just did a basic survey. Oh, how much is that? Oh, £200 or whatever it was back in 2005. Oh, just do that. I'm good. My dad says, right, these houses are solid. They've been here for 100 years. They're solid, or well, you know. So I didn't do the full structural survey. Once I buy the property, I'm like, whoa, what is that wet patch coming through? It was a really heavy rain one day. I'm like, what is that? Where's that coming from? There was a leak in the roof. I got a roofer out to do a quote, and he was like, oh, Neil, this roof is just shot. You know, there's holes all over it. There's tiles slipping. You need a new roof. So, of course, I had to put a new roof on. So that was an expense. Then I found out the electrics were just got so bad in half of the house that we converted that it was just, you couldn't salvage those electrics. They were the original electrics that had been installed. You remember those big round black light switches? They were like a black switch. It was round and there's a white switch in the middle.
Very dated ones.
Yeah. They were like the originals decades and decades ago. It had those in them. Like,
so it needed a full rewire then?
This was a probate property.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It hadn't been touched.
As soon as you say that, we know it's going to be a lot of issues.
You want me to tell you the craziest thing, which I thought was hilarious? She didn't have a fridge, this lady that lived there. She was almost 100. She didn't have a fridge. You know what she used? You know the old pantries, they used to have a concrete slab in the ground?
Yeah.
It was that.
Yeah, I couldn't bet.
Because I was like, what is this? Is this like a shower, or where's the hole? What is this hole in the ground of concrete?
Yeah.
It was insane. So again, I spent a lot. I had to put in a new boiler. So then when the guy came to the boiler, he said, to be honest, you haven't really got a proper heating system yet. So you may as well put a new heating system and radiators, because these radiators are cast iron and they're all rusting. He opened it to show me and all this orange liquid came out. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to cost a fortune. So by the end of it, it was 15,000.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful once it was done.
And see, those problems that you've discussed, imagine that, or even on a larger scale.
Yeah.
If you're new to the investing in property, it's going to be turned from a dream of having passive income to a massive nightmare. So you want to try and avoid that. So one way to do that is, as we mentioned before, work with a good sourcing company, or actually look to buy a property or HMO that's making money already. Maybe it's tenanted. I know sometimes some landlords think, oh, well, how do I know tenants are paying on time? Well, if you've got tenants that have been there for a consistent period of time, they're good tenants. And as long as it's not having any issues, you'll be all right. So you've got that. So go for a less complicated HMO deal or property deal. And as you touched upon, you could potentially live in it as a room if you lose your job, unfortunately. But it's a changing world, isn't it? So I like the point that you raised earlier, which is in today's world, job security is not job security anymore. It's changed so much.
Massive.
You know, you've got blue chip firms who are making redundant thousands and thousands of workers. And these companies have employment sizes of 50,000, 100,000.
Yeah.
You've got Deutsche Bank. You've got loads of companies all around the world. So having the backup of property, bricks and mortar, it's always going to be there. People are always going to live there. We've got higher demand versus supply. Yeah. It's always a good backup to invest in.
Especially the UK. I was just looking at some figures today. We're seeing growth of still, and this has been going on for over a decade now, 500,000 influx into the UK every year.
Yes.
And it's consistent. So you've got to think, if we're having 500,000 every year coming into the UK, there isn't any more land. So you get what I mean? We're not building more land. You know, we're not Dubai or China. We're building land in the sea.
Yeah.
So this is we're limited to what we've got. So what does that mean? Well, it means more people are going into HMOs.
Yeah.
Or we're building more apartment blocks.
Yeah. You've got pension funds. One of the biggest increase last 5 to 10 years is pension funds, large, huge institutions are investing in purpose-built accommodation, be it students or professionals. Yeah. So why are they investing in that? Because they see the sustainability and income. Because with any pension fund, what's their main payout? Consistent retirement payments.
Yes.
That's what they get from rents.
Yeah.
So rather than you having to go directly invest in a retirement fund, which obviously you might have to do for mandatory reasons, you can also do it yourself through your 100,000.
Yeah. All right, good. Well, I think that covers the question. I think we've nailed that one actually for the 100K, what we do with it. So we'll move on to the next question in the next episode. So thank you so much for listening or watching in, and we'll see you on the next episode.